For those students, ayan, since nire-record ko na, for those students who have trouble when it comes to attending the class, um, kung hindi kayo makaka-attend, so mawawalan, medyo malaki yung mawawala sa inyo, no? Well, I could just suggest that make sure na mataas ang magiging midterm, final, and quizzes ninyo. And project, of course. So that medyo makahabol kayo. Kasi I already asked Sir RS, kanina nagkausap kami, I told him, Sir, wala po akong magiging online activities. Kasi nga po, anuhin ko na sila, during our session, nandito na lahat. Nag-on, wala, kumbaga parang this session, wala na kayong babalikan. Like, na pagkatapos nito, may pagagawa po ka po ba, ma'am? Will you do like, for example, online activities? No, kagaya nung sa mga ginawa ng ST, wala akong pagagawa sa inyo doon as in zero. So, nakafocus lang tayo doon sa magre-recite kayo para hindi nasasayang yung oras nyo. Kasi yung iba, di ba, parang pag naka-open lang sila, tapos wala silang na-note, wala silang ganito, parang feeling nila sayang na sayang yung oras nila. So ngayon, walang masasayang kasi lahat na dito. So you're expected to, before you come to class, eventually, of course, magiging routine nyo na yan sa inyong life na to have an advanced study and to participate, turn on your mics, and or using the chat box. So wala na. Kasi naisip ko, mas tipid to. Yun nga lang, hindi tipid sa oras, pero mas tipid siya kasi hindi na kaya kailangan mag-load, iintindihin mo na lang, magbasa, tapos mag-review para sa quiz. Yun. So, yun na lang ang masasuggest ko, kasi medyo dumadami yung nagchat-chat sa akin na, ma'am, paano po yan? Kasi sa inyo po kasama attendance. And based on sa requirements, I saw the guidelines. Kasi, based on the guidelines, required naman talaga sa sa klase na umattend kayo ng 2 per month. So, yun na lang ang gagawin natin. Okay, so let us begin. Wait, bago ko i-present. Teka. Nakikita niyo yung mga tanong. Okay. Let's start first by asking this question. Now, I will project first muna. As a student, when do you feel that a class is a learner-centered class? Since our lessons will focus on the learner-centered class, I would like to ask you, as a student, when do you feel that a class is a learner-centered class? Okay. Kailan nyo na-feel na learner-centered class ang klase natin? So, I'll stop sharing and open my Google Meet to accommodate your raised hands and your question, or your answers rather. Kailan nyo nasasabi na, when do you feel that this is a learner-centered class? Kasi you already have the knowledge of a learner-centered class. Okay, John, bumaba eh. Is that John Roma? I don't know. Yung nag-raise ng hand. Tama, si John Roma. Okay.
Ma'am,
John Roma.
nasasabi ko po, pagka po meron pong nagtuturo, tas meron din pong mga natututunan.
So generally, ang view mo na learner-centered class is may nagtuturo tas may natututunan ka. Yun.
Opo, ma'am.
Okay, sige, that's your view. How about Ansel?
Ma'am, good afternoon po. Para sa akin po, kapag po kapanabik po yung lesson, tsaka po talagang, kumbaga po, focus ka po talaga dun sa topic na tinuturo. Kumbaga po, parang naano ka na, maeengganyo ka po na matutuhan po yun.
Pag learner-centered. Oh, sige, Ansel. Okay. Jimboy.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Ansel. And good afternoon din. Good afternoon, Jimboy. How about you?
Para sa akin, ma'am, napipil ko po yun kapag yung estudyante po tsaka po yung teacher, meron po silang connection. Which is, kapag nagpapalitan po sila ng mga ideya, yun po.
Okay, very good. So, nagpapalitan ng ideya, yun ang sabi ni Jimboy. Okay. Maria Sandra Fonelas.
Ma'am, para po sa akin, kapag po yung mga bagay na hindi ko po alam, nalalaman ko po. Kapag po
Okay, so,
tinuro
kagaya
po
na sabi.
guro.
Okay.
Yan naman po, salamat.
Okay. John Paul Banhao.
Ma'am, para po sa akin, dapat po maging mas hard worker po kaming mga as a future teacher po kaysa sa mga estudyante po namin. Kasi po ma'am, mas nakasalalay po sa amin yung matututunan nila, ayun din po yung mga gamit po nila. Yun lang po.
Okay, magiging hard worker. Gladys Polo. Gladys is not around. Gladys
Good
Polo,
afternoon
last
po.
one.
Nasabi
Good
ko pong
afternoon.
learner-centered po kapag po yung estudyante yung
Estudyante
Hello po,
yung,
ma'am. Good afternoon po.
estudyante yung,
Nasabi ko pong learner-centered po yung klase kapag po yung estudyante po yung more on nagtuturo.
okay, estudyante
Nagtuturo
yung,
po.
siguro hindi naman
Yung
turo,
kunyari po, nga report,
pero
ganun
siguro
po.
more on, gumagalaw. Kasi mahirap naman nagtuturo, di ba? Wala nang silbi si teacher pag gano'n. Very good. Siguro, ang ano ni Gladys is, si student yung more on in action. Yes, Genesis. Hindi ko alam ba't nabababa yung iba. Yes, Genesis?
Good afternoon po, ma'am. Siguro po pag meron po silang brainstorming and then meron po kasing two types of learner-centered. Ito po yung teacher-centered and then po yung student-centered, which is po the student centered. Ito po yung more on reportings and discussion po sa mga kaklase po namin. And then po dun po sa teacher-centered naman po, makikita po natin na yung teacher po yung nagtuturo. Dun po sa may masasabi ko na din po dun sa learner-centered po natin na we have a connection between teacher and students. At ganun din po dun sa nagtuturo na student to student. Kumbaga nagkakaroon po sila ng isang brainstorming at nakakakuha po ng isang ideya.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for clarifying and adding the teacher-centered. Gina Herrera.
Ma'am, para po sa akin yung learner-centered is parehas pong nagbe-benefit yung student and the teacher. When it comes to pag-share po ng ideas, ay meron pong dapat na be-benefitan yung teacher tsaka yung student, which is parang the same po sila ng contact to each other para maging maganda po yung flow ng kanilang communications or other mga gawin.
Okay, so siguro when you say benefit, it's like may kasi may dinagdag ka pang words. May contact si teacher at student. Okay. I guess I'll have the last one. Last two si Julian tsaka si Jenny. Let's start with Jenny, tapos si Julian. Natawag ko na yung iba eh. Julian?
Yes po, ma'am. Ma'am, para po sa akin, ito po yung nakakapag-instruct po yung teacher and nakakapag-guide po yung teacher ng kanyang mga lesson. Also, nagkakaroon po ng participation within the class at nakakapag-share po ng knowledge, thoughts, and ideas po yung mga students.
Okay, nakakapag-share ng knowledge ang students. Very good. Last one. Jenny.
Ma'am. Mas natuturuan po ng maayos po yung students yung mga dapat pong malaman yung mga important knowledge po tsaka po mga bagay-bagay na makakatulong po sa kanilang improvement.
Okay. So, thank you, Jenny. I think we have different views of teacher-centered and learner-centered. Although, I could say that some of you have the grasp ng teacher and learner-centered. Well, it's fine. Whatever, all of your answers are correct because I told you, when do you feel? Okay, di ba yung nagtanong ko, when do you feel? So, all answers are correct. Even if lahat ng nasa chat box na, apakaingay. Okay. Even sa mga chat box na class ko sa akin po, kagaya na sinabi ni Nora, ni Clarence, ni Jen, ni James. Okay, so the rest in chat box, tama. Kasi I asked, when do you feel? So, tinatanong ko kayo, not the dictionary meaning of the learner-centered teaching. So it's nice to know your ideas. Your ideas are very good. Yes, maraming meaning. Marami kasi sa ating dating ang learner-centered. But the easiest way, I think, na pwede nating ilagay is more on student. Hindi lang namin, basta about yan, puro student. Focus sa student. So now, I will ask you through chat box na lang. Which do you prefer, a teacher who is the sole discussant, lecturer, or a teacher who gives you enrichment activities? Chat box tayo. Okay, so gusto ko mas maraming mabasa. Ano mas gusto niyo teacher? Prefer who is the sole discussant? Kunwari, ako yung turo ng turo ng turo, o nagbibigay ako ng activities? Okay. May it be face-to-face or may it be face-to-face or virtual? Sige. Okay, basahin natin. Prefer ko po yung nagtuturo, first discussion, para po sa akin nagbibigay po ng activities upang matutunan. Face-to-face. Okay. Pwede kasi maintindihan, teacher nagtuturo, teacher. So I've been, sorry kung nandito yung aso ko, may kasi, gusto niya hawak siya para di siya maintang ulo. Okay, so, ayan. I actually see different opinions. Nakakatuwa. May mga iba gusto nila si teacher nagtuturo, may iba gusto nila yung nagbibigay ng enrichment activities na possible nila matama. Okay. That's nice. So some of you, they prefer teacher sole, the discussant, and then makikinig kayo. And some of you, they prefer sila yung gagalaw. Actually, for me, when I was in college, gusto ko sana discussant talaga si teacher. Ayoko yung nagre-report. Although I love reporting, pero listening to reports, hindi ko gusto kasi nahihirapan talaga akong mag-aral pag ganun. But I have a teacher that we have lots of activities na yun ang fina-follow ko. So, kanya-kanya talaga tayo ng discussion. So, now, how about this one? Which do you prefer? Group task or individual task? When the teacher says, okay, let's have an activity. Ano mas gusto nyo? Individual task or group task? Which do you prefer? Chat box tayo ulit. Group task or individual? Sabi ni John Paul, individual. Si Gina din, individual. Puro individual task. Okay. Group task, ayan, sila Genesis. Individual. Okay, si Mark, si Lawrence. Okay. Ayan, may nag-group ulit si Jenny naman. Genesis, si Jenny, si Micaela. Okay. Kasi nadadagdagan yung idea. Okay. Individual, kasi may group member pong di tumutulong. Yes, that's true. Okay. So, group task versus individual. I think with your section, parang mas madami ang individual task. I think it's easier sa virtual class to have an individual rather than group. But in face-to-face, I guess, mas okay ang group. Kasi nakakatakaw oras, like, I remember when I was teaching in college, and actually kahit sa junior high, group task within an hour. Okay, inaano ko sila, binibigla ako yung mga estudyante ko. Hindi ko basta-basta, kakababa lang eh. Hindi kagaya ng ibang, di ba yung iba, parang kinabukasan. Sa akin hindi. Group test tayo after 10 minutes, tsaka nyo ipapasa. Kasi dun lang sila talaga hindi pwedeng hindi tumulong kasi on the spot. But I don't expect super. Okay, now for our activity, question 1. Okay, so be ready. This is your first to answer through chat will receive 3 points. Where is my class manager? Are you here, class manager? Nandyan ka ba?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, so be ready ha. Medyo mabilisan tayo. This is why I ask you to madaming points na makukuha natin. This is why I asked you to read. Okay? So, first to answer through chat, we'll receive 3 points. And first 5 will receive 2 points each. And, okay. So, bali 6. First 6 tayo. So, aside dun sa una, tapos dun sa may 5 pa, pagkatapos nung tama dapat 2, 4, 6. Okay. So, Jenny, siguro balikan mo na lang later. Okay. Ikaw bahala, depende sa style mo. Okay, class manager. So read the question fast and answer it immediately in the chat box. Okay, wala muna mag-turn on ng mic. We will answer through chat box. Let us begin. Question number 1. This philosophy aims to be a closely organized and well-disciplined environment which develops in students a lifelong quest for the truth. This philosophy aims to be closely organized and well-disciplined environment, which develops in students a lifelong quest for truth. Okay, let's count. 5 counts tayo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, wala pang nagsasagot. Hinahanap sa lecture. Anong philosophy ang nag-aim to be a closely organized and well-disciplined environment? Ba't walang nagsasagot? Hindi alam ang sagot. Okay. You could choose. We have different philosophy. Yung nasa ano natin. Akala ko ba nagbasa kayo? Part. Marami tayong different philosophies if ever na you've read. Sige. Purpose of logic. Ang lalayo naman ang sagot nyo. Ansel, Alain, ano ba to? Reggie, Mark. Ito yung... Ano ba yung lesson natin? Di ba ang lesson natin ay... essentialism. Ano pa ba? Perennialism, constructivism. Ano ba yan? Sa logic tayo. Okay, so yan, nagsasagot na sila. Okay, let's check. The correct answer is perennialism. So the first one who answered perennialism is Jenny Altiche. So sunod natin ay si Micaela. 2 points. Beljan, Julian. Perennialism dapat, Laila, pero sige na nga. And Mary Lynn. Okay, let's have the next question. Question number 2. This philosophy believes that learning is rooted in the questions of learners that arise through experiencing the world. This philosophy believes that learning is rooted in the questions of learners that arise through experiencing the world. The correct, bilang mo na, 1 Mississippi, 4, and 5. The correct answer is progressivism. Okay, sino ba? Oh, ayan, kinapi-paste na lang si progressivism. Okay, Nicole is the first one. Okay. The rest is Aki-chan. Next, question number 3. This philosophy believes that certain categories, example, women, racial groups, dinosaur, original Picasso artwork, have an underlying reality or true nature that one cannot observe directly. Okay? 1, 4, and 5. The correct answer is essentialism. So they are the essentials. Okay. Yan. Okay. Next. Question number 4. This approach to learning that holds that people actively construct or make their own knowledge, and the reality is determined by the experiences of the learner. Parang yun ulit siya. Parang nasabi ko na yun kanina. Correct answer is constructivism. Nandun na oh. Very good si Rika, nakapagpalit. Okay. Next. Question number 5. Learning is not an end in itself. This philosophy believes that learning is not an end in itself. Right? The correct answer is humanism. Okay. Question number 6. Oh, ayan, medyo madami. Give one specific aspect of learner-centered practice that are crucial in achieving learner-centered teaching. Question number, oh, hindi na yan ano ha, one aspect na yan, iba na. Hindi na siya isim. Give one specific aspect of learner-centered practice that are crucial in achieving learner-centered teaching. Aspect na tayo. Isa lang sagot ah. Okay, the correct answer. Okay. Ay walang nakatama. Involving students in first-hand learning, giving students choices about and control of their learning, teaching students lifelong learning skills, promoting the relevance of learner-centered teaching. Ayan, paano kayo makakatama sa quiz natin? Don't worry, we'll have the discussion naman. Okay, let's continue later. So later we'll have another set of brain-based learning. May mga brain-based learning? Teka. May mga brain-based. Si-search ko nga yan, Marilyn. Okay, let's continue later and let's discuss our discussion. So the unit 1 is the learner-centered teaching, the foundations and characteristics. So we will start first with the lesson 1, the learner-centered teaching. Okay, in a learner-centered teaching, the teacher always asks, given the context of my students, course, and classroom, will this teaching action optimize my students' opportunity to learn? Yun yung unang tanong. That is one of the questions that a teacher would ask. If it is a learner-centered teaching, why? In a learner-centered teaching, mali yung notion na na puro si teacher. It's not about the teacher. It's about the students itself. Like, ano ba yung pwede kong gawin para maintindihan nila yung lesson? So you'll always ask that to yourself. Is a classroom okay? Nakaka-excite ba? Is the classroom, the temperature of the classroom, is it good? Is the course okay for the students? How will I teach them? What is the best methods that I could use for my students? So those are for learner-centered teaching. Okay? So learner-centered teaching, it is very different for teacher-centered. Why? Kasi sa learner-centered teaching, may mga bagong learning roles. May mga different responsibilities that go beyond taking notes and passing the test. In teacher-centered, kagaya ng mga sinabi ng iba kanina, magdi-discuss si teacher, the sole discussant, and then you will pass the test. That is the teacher-centered. Discuss, review, pasa. Mag-exam, pasa, bagsak. So that is teacher-centered. But in a learner-centered, mag-iiba yung roles nyo. In a way na you could have lots of activities, you could have other matters, like for example, your teacher could ask, oh, what do you want to do today? Or the teacher will look for the different things, like, ano ba yung gusto ng estudyante ko? Yung mga ganon. So, also, with learner-centered teaching, students have real control of their learning. They have the ability to choose how they want to learn because teacher will give different environments. Collaboration is regular. Hindi siya kagaya nung sa dati na individual. Di ba, puro individual before. Nabutan ko pa yun. I don't know if nabutan nyo pa na more on individual activity yung ginagawa. And what happened with individual activity? Pag mali ka, okay, mali ako, parang ganun, pasa, activity, lahat individual project. But this one, puro group. Kaya, this is one of the reasons why it's really tiring for us. Kasi some of you, sanay kayo sa individual work, maybe because your teachers are teacher-centered. But when it comes to group works, lagi kayong nakakasama, meron kang kasama, sabi nyo nga kanina, may mga hindi tumutulong. But that is part of the learner-centered teaching. If the teacher gives you lots of activities that you will do inside the classroom and outside, that is part of it. Part siya ng learner-centered. Kaya ang daming activity. Bakit? Kasi it is believed that in a learner-centered environment, may mga student, like for example, si Ansel, just in case lang naman, maybe Ansel is drawing. Maybe Ansel is good in acting. Maybe Christine is good at dancing. So, as a teacher, we will give certain activities for them. So, for Ansel, na magaling daw mag-drawing, she could, a teacher could give an activity that involves drawing. So, minsan may poster making contest, di ba? May ganon sa poster making dun sa isang class. Or, naisip ni teacher na, ay, maraming magaling sumayaw, makapagpa-role-playing nga na with dance number, parang ganon, di ba? So, there are different activities para naman malabas yung talents ng mga bata, and collaboration is very important. There are other aspects in the learner-centered practice. Number one, involving students in first-hand learning. The students have the ability to be involved in the learning process, which means kapag pag-involve si students, the students could choose. This is what I want. Okay, so what do you want to do? Minsan tinatanong natin yung estudyante. So, we could ask the student, we could ask the student to do this activity. Pwede natin. It's fine. It's okay in a learner-centered. They have the say. Really, they really have the say sa learning nila. Giving students choices about and control of their learning. So, same lang din. Teaching students lifelong learning skills. So, sabi kasi, di ba, I told you before, during the orientation, I don't know if I told you, but nung araw, laging sinasabi ng mga lolo natin, nung araw, kabisado ko yan eh. Nung araw, ganito. Nung araw, ganyan. But now, it's different. Because, hindi na siya memorization. It was defined, it was seen through research that memorization is not enough. Hindi na pala okay na mag-memorize sa mag-memorize. What is more important is you could apply it in your real life. And another is promoting relevance of learner-centered teaching is also an aspect of a learner-centered practice. So, yun yung different aspect. In a learner-centered practice, this proverb is very popular. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. This proverb is very, very popular in a learner-centered environment. Bakit? Kasi sabi nila, pag those spoon feeding, like for example, in a teacher-centered, ito gawin nyo, ganyan, 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 ganyan. The student cannot do anything na parang, okay, sige po, yan po gagawin ko. Hindi na siya mag-iisip. But, if you will give them the choice, for example, ako, usually when I give group projects, kasi nga may pagka-learner-centered na nga din kasi ako, learner-centered teaching ang ginagamit since it was promoted when I was in college, and most of the activities and seminars learner-centered, I give them an option. Okay, so you could perform Ma'am, paano po namin ipa-perform? It's up to you. Basta I just want to have a performance about this activity. It's up to you and how will you do it. But if you will make a report, I don't want to have a boring report. So, minsan may mga bata sumasayaw, may mga bata na may tableau. So, sila na nakaisip nun. And you know what happened? Every time na nagkakaroon kami ng mga ganyan, for example, especially during my junior high school days, teacher ako sa junior high school, yung iba na, for example, sinabi ko, ito yung gusto ko. Tapos nakita nila, sila yung pinakapangit. The following ay hindi. Anong pangit? Nagdadala na ng mga kung ano-anong props. Nakita nila na na yung isa namang group, hala, naalalamangan tayo ng grupo na to, hindi tayo papatalo. Mas maganda yung atin. So, what happened to them? Before they thought that it's just their limit, then they did this, and then they have another, sabi nila, okay, so kaya ko pala to, mas hihigitan ko pa. So, ganun yung nangyayari. That is what we want to do for this. Ganun natin sila gusto na, wait lang ha, ilalabas ko lang tumabait ng aso. Okay. So, we could do that. Kasi pag teaching, nakita nila, pag teacher-centered, dinidiscuss, ito gawin nyo, this is what you will do, this is what you will do, this is what you will do. After nun, tapos na. Mag-aaral na lang ako. But, ngayon, hindi na. Kaya hindi naiintindihan ng mga ibang magulang yung style ngayon. Kasi dati hindi ganun si teacher. Minsan, may mga magulang na nagreklamo. Ma'am, bakit ba ganyan ngayon? Di naman po artista yung mga anak namin. Bakit pa arte ng arte? Bakit role-playing ng role-playing? Bakit gawa ng movie? But, the thing is, na maraming skills na mga natutunan yung mga bata that now they are using. Paano? Nagagamit nila to sa yung photography, editing, collaboration skills, leadership skills. Ang dami natututunan na hindi siya natututunan before. Na natutunan na lang nila yon when they are in their job na. Now, in this scene, I know you're familiar with this one. Hindi ko na kasi alam, aside sa Coco Melon, kung ano yung very popular during that time. But during my time, Blue's Clues talaga, and Sesame Street, hindi masyado. Ang boring kasi na Sesame Street. Gusto ko Mr. Bean. But Blue's Clues, ayan. So these shows are very popular to kids. And some people will say it's because of the colorful things. It's about but you know what other things aside from magiging colorful? Because a cartoon develops the child's imagination. And sometimes, for example, di ba, may part dito sa, for example, ang alam ko lang kasi ay yung natatandaan ko kay Dora the Explorer and kay Blue's Clues, ayan, kay Blue, they ask the kids, like for example, where do we ask for help when we don't know which way to go, sabi ni Dora. And then the kids, she will stop, and then she will say, the map, right, you're correct. So may may praise sa bata na hindi naman alam ng bata minsan na hindi naman pala siya yung kinakausap, but na in general yon. But the kids will really think. And for them, yun yung ginagaya natin kasi we want to have a thinkers. We want to have a lifelong learner person. Hindi lang siya yung ngayon. And let's have another activity. Ayan, sabi sa inyo eh. Okay, so chat box ulit tayo. Okay, tingnan natin kung makakabawi-bawi na kayo. Let's continue. Okay, so ang huling word natin ay from Ansel the Moral. Let's have. This philosophy emphasizes on learning by doing. Learning by doing. Okay, ano to? Question number 7. Learning by doing. What philosophy is this? Always remember, students, ang pinakamataas po na magiging score, yun po yung magiging batayan ng highest sa ating activity. Okay? So, kung wala kang absent, tapos ikaw pa yung pinakamataas, edi ikaw yung malaking hatak. At kapag lagi kang di nakakasagot, pasensya po tayo. Okay, let's check. The correct answer is progressivism. Okay, it's not human. Okay, lahat kayo, walang problema, lahat ay mali. Okay. Theory of education. Pero, mas lalong mali yung sagot ni Julian. Okay lang yan, Julian. Time will come. Okay? Next, question number 8. This philosophy played a major role in the Renaissance period. Okay, this philosophy played. Okay, may sagot na si Nicole. This philosophy played a major role in the Renaissance period. Okay, let us check. The correct answer is humanism. Okay. Next one, question number 9. Rewards within self is called. Anong tawag dun sa rewards within self? Pag nire-rewardan mo yung sarili mo. Rewards within self. My dear students, isa to sa maraming tanong sa LET, ang mga isms, the philosophy of education. Marami siyang tanong sa LET. Kaya sana, after our session, medyo mas maintindihan ni pagkakaiba niya. Saan nyo kaya nakukuha yung collectivism? Minsan di ko alam, kinagaya nyo lang ata yung unang na mali. Rewards within self is called intrinsic rewards. Okay. Number 10. It is also known as cognitive constructivism. Question number 10. Also known as cognitive constructivism. Natatawa ko sa'yo, Jimbo, tsaka si Ansel. Kahit ano lang ism, ano? Okay. The correct answer is individual constructivism. Okay, so wala ulit, tama. Siguro naman sa ano ba yan? Siguro naman sa quiz, babawi kayo, no? Okay, let's continue later. Okay, let's have the unit 2. Tayo. Now, let's begin first. Tamang hula lang, ano? Minsan halata. Teacher-centered philosophies tayo. Okay. Essentialism. Ito na. Magsisimula na tayo. Baka may masagot na kayo mamaya. Ano ba essentialism? Mind. Mamaya ang masabi na Nicole. Mind, ma-mind. Imbis na ism eh. Pero hindi ko talaga alam yung collectivism nyo. Siguro, saan kaya yun? Okay. Essentialism. This is actually from Plato. Ito yung isa sa mga unang isms, unang philosophies. And it is said that this philosophy ay hindi siya okay sa feminism. Let us know why. Plato's idealism that all things have such an essence of form. Meron daw tayong mga tinatawag na certain categories. So essentialism, may men, so babae ka, lalaki ka. Racial groups, ikaw ay Aita, o ikaw ay kung ano mang race ka, you're black, white, yellow, brown, whatsoever. And in this essential, this believes in lecture. So, nagte-lecture si teacher. Si teacher is a soul. Okay? Siya talaga yung parang, in an essentialism class, ikaw yung pinaka-importante, sa'yo manggagaling lahat. Just think na lang this. When we say essentialism, lahat ng estudyante, hindi nila alam. Okay? Wala tayong pake sa mga estudyante. Ang ano natin is ikaw yung pinaka may utak, tapos, tuturuan mo sila. Okay? So that's why one of the things that I saw that is fit for this one is Snape from the from the Harry Potter. Kasi si Snape, he's very, maayos si Snape. He knows his job. He doesn't, he's not like other profs na they ask for the students, parang gano'n. Basta magtuturo siya, mag-aaral ka. Mapasa mo yung exam, tapos na. Yun. And as a teacher, it is really relatively conservative. Siguro we could say na ito yung nasa mga schools na kagaya na the different schools na how should I say this? Mga private school na madre or pare or maybe about sa yung mga madasaling schools. Okay, so medyo sila, conservative sila. So medyo mataas ang standard ng teacher. Ang daming bawal. So in essentialism, the fundamental arts are very important. The reading, the writing, the arithmetic, and the right conduct. So yun. Essentialism also believes in the core curriculum na ang importante sa atin ay surrounding environment, basic natural laws, the disciplines to promote happier and more educated living. And also, it instills students the essential of academic knowledge. Kaya, mapakita natin na hindi sila masyado dun about sa artwork, about sila sa matutunan mo yung mga disciplines. So, basic knowledge and teachers. Hindi sila kagaya, di ba? We believe that teachers who are facilitators of learning. No, they're not facilitators. Teachers not rather to transmit or reshape the society. Sa essentialism, hindi. Pero they need to transmit the traditional, moral values, and intellectual knowledge that the students needs to become a model citizen. But kasi na parang nung araw nga siya. Why? Because di ba gano'n ang ginagawa nila? Kailangan maging responsableng citizen kayo. Parang military base. So, yun siya. Hindi siya about sa pag-play. Walang play. Mag-aral ka. Okay? So, nandyan ka para mag-aral. Parang mga ganun. Very patriarchal. Very nung araw pa siya. Yun yung essentialism. This curriculum has math, natural sciences, history, foreign language, and literature. Importante ang literature. At saka, ayaw nila ng mga vocational courses or courses that water down academic content. Kaya makikita natin, the essentialist person, yung mga magulang nung araw, di ba? Ano ba ang kurso nung araw na gustong-gusto nila? Nursing, mag-law, abugasya, di ba? Abugasya, maging teacher. Hindi masyado, more on about academics, yung mga mabibigat. Hindi kagaya ngayon, kung anong mga na-invento na may, yung HRM, ayaw nila nun. Ayaw nila ng HRM, tourism, hindi pang essentialism yan. Ang essentialism, yung more on talagang ang core ay education. Okay? So, teachers must have the mastery of subject matter, intellectual and moral models of students, the paragon of virtue. Pag sinabing paragon, ikaw na talaga ikaw talaga yung kumbaga parang pag nakikita ka, parang sobrang tapat mo, sobrang talino mo, like that. So, ganun yung essentialism. Sobrang bigat ng role ng teacher. Dito, bawal na ka magkamali. Okay? Rigid din siya and disciplinary. And, imagine, this believes in order. Sabi dito sa essentialism, effective teaching cannot occur in a loud and disorganized environment. Dapat daw tahimik. So makikita natin sa mga schools, hindi kagaya sa ibang public schools or ibang university. Sa BSU kasi maingay. Pero sa mga essential, kasi BSU hindi naman siya essentialism. progressivism tayo. Marami tayong iba-iba. Iba-iba tayo eh. Pero hindi tayo masyado sa essentialism. Although we want the right things, pero more on creativity. Pero dito hindi. Tahimik dapat. Mas matututo ka sa tahimik na lugar. Eh ngayon hindi na, di ba? Yung iba sa inyo, some of you study with music, with sometimes videos, mga ganon. Pero nung araw, hindi. Kailangan tahimik na tahimik. Lalo pag klase, yung tipong bawal maghabulan, bawal maganon yun. Values respect for authority, fidelity to duty, consideration for others, practicality, and intellectual knowledge that students need to become the model citizens. And when you watch different movies from 50s, makikita nyo dito, yung mga nakapagtapos ng pag-aaral, talagang ibang-iba ang dating. Talagang sobrang strict, sobrang gano'n. The proponent of this is William Bagley. Now let's have the perennialism. So kanina, essentialism. This is another teacher-centered philosophy. Now, teach students to reason and develop minds that can think critically. Critical thinking is very important in perennialism. And a classroom is closely well-organized. Pareho sila ng essentialism. Closely well-organized, a well-disciplined environment which develops students for their life quest for the truth. May pagka parang Socrates yung mga movement nito because they want to know the truth, kung ano ang katotohanan. So, yun. Focuses on everlasting ideas and universal truths. When we say universal truths, it is from the beginning hanggang ngayon, totoo siya. Kaya nga more on mga heavy philosophers during that time. It suggests that education's focus should be the ideas that had lasted. Tatandaan nyo to ha, mga bata. Teacher, salit. Pag perennialism, ito, kilala siya dito. Focuses on the ideas that had lasted for centuries, believing the ideas that are as relevant and as meaningful today as when they were written. Laging tatandaan, pag perennialism ay nagmula pa nung araw na ideologies hanggang ngayon, totoo siya. Ito siya. Itong ituturo. Kasi sabi nga nila, this methods is passed down to us. Subok na. Ayan. Laging tatandaan, pag perennialism, subok na. Alright? Students learn from reading and analyzing the works by history of the finest thinkers and writers. So, in perennialism, since naniniwala ka dito, you will study the works of the thinkers, yung mga sa history, mga magagaling na tao, like Socrates, yung mga thinkers, Aristotle, okay, so yung mga different, mga ka-level nila, yung mga naisip nila ngayon that is used until now, yun. So, mga nag-lasted for centuries kasi tama. Yun pag perennialism. To teach students to reason and develop minds that can think critically. A perennialist classroom aims to be a closely organized and well-disciplined environment. Sabi mo to. Epitomize a prepared effort to make these ideas available to students and guide their thought process towards understanding and appreciating the great works of literature. So, ang ano natin, ang teacher, tutulungan mo yung bata, i-guide mo sila para mag-isip. Kasi nga, perennialism, critical thinkers. Okay? So, pag essentialism, all of the things that are essential, more on about siya sa, imagine nyo na lang si Snape, tapos yung mga teachers nung araw na terror, kaya yung mga ganon na kailangan ganito, kailangan ganyan, ito ang batas, like that, essentialism yon. Lahat ng mga importante. Pero pag perennialism, ito yung mga subok na, mga different centuries na kalipas, ito pa rin ang tinuturo nila kasi it was passed down to us. And aside from that, about critical thinking siya. Okay, you will teach students how to think. Okay. But, mas teacher pa din po ang nakafocus doon. Master of the content and development of reasoning skills. So, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Right. Skills are still developed sequentially. For example, reading, writing, speaking, and listening are emphasized in the early grades to prepare students para saan? Sa literature, history, and philosophy. So, kaya, yung during that time, pag perennialism, yung naka-base yung curriculum makers, they begin, parang nakafocus sa literature. Actually, pagka-perennialism tayo kasi we focus on literature. Perennialism classrooms are also centered on teachers to accomplish these goals. The teachers are not concerned about the students' interest. Wala silang pakialam kung masaya ka dito, nag-enjoy ka dito, wala silang pakialam dyan. Because they use the tried and tested teaching methods. Okay, pag tried and tested, perennialism ang sagot dyan. Okay. Curriculum is universal and is based on their view that all human beings possess in the same essential nature. Perennialism thinks that individuals think deeply, analytically, flexibly, and imaginatively. They emphasize that students should not be taught information that may soon be outdated or found to be incorrect. So, hindi sila masyado dun sa mga theories na ngayon pa lang, kasi baka at the end, ang logic kasi niyan is that maybe after some time, hindi na siya true. So, kailangan ituro sa bata yung universal truth. Yun. Okay? Perennialists is approved teachers of requiring students to absorb massive amounts of disconnected information. They recommend that schools spend more time teaching about concepts and explaining their meaningful to students. Usually about to sa religion. Okay. The proponent of this one is Robert Hutchins. Okay. Now we will begin with the student-centered philosophy. So we discussed two: teacher-centered, essentialism, and perennialism. So remember the two. Now we'll have the student-centered philosophies. Ayan na, babanggitin na natin kanina pa nyo type si progressivism. Okay, so sana ngayon, matandaan nyo na. Ano ba si progressivism? Progressivism is an educational movement that gives more value to experience than formal learning. So kung kanina, in the perennialism and essentialism, yung mga importante, dito, it's different. It's about the experience. And experiential learning concentrates on the development of the child's talents. So, dine-develop nila yung this children's talents. Why? Because for them, it's very important. Pero sa hindi eh. Kanina, wala namang kayong nabasang talent eh. Dito, kailangan. Progressivists believe that education should focus on the whole child than on the content or the teacher. This educational philosophy stresses that students should test ideas through active experimentation. So kanina, more on teacher ganito, more on teacher ganyan, but now it's different because you will focus on the student itself. Ano yung gusto niya, ano yung talent niya, so ganun si progressivism. Learning is rooted in the questions of learners that arise through experience in the world. So the teachers will be there to guide the students and answer the different questions. They believe that individuality, progress, and change are fundamental to one's education. So they want to change the child in somehow. Gusto nilang baguhin yung bata because the child should adapt. Kailangan mag-adapt ang bata sa what is happening around the world. Believing that people learn best from what they consider most relevant in their lives. And progressively center the curricula on students' needs, experience, interests, and abilities, and the proponent is John Dewey. In a progressivist, I could say that I'm a little bit progressivist. Isn't it, we always ask this when we were young, aanhin ko ba, lalo na lang sa Filipino, sige. Aanhin ko ba yung mag-aral ng about sa grammar, diba? Ano ko yan? Wala akong pakialam dyan. Hindi ko na magagamit yan. Pag bumili ba ako sa tindahan, pag bumili ba ako sa tindahan, masasabi ko ba na, parang ganon. Yung mga ng mga bata, alam niyo naman na siguro yun. So now, as a teacher, the students should know why is it relevant. Isa yun sa mga inaano natin kung saan nila pwedeng magamit, paano nila magagamit. So those are the different things that a teacher should prepare the students to. Kasi, and also, it should be relevant to the students. That's why the things that you will use, the experience that you will allow them to have, they should use outside the world. The new progressive teaching methods are based on the philosophy of John Dewey, that education is life itself, growth, reconstruction of human experience, and social process. The main goal of new methods in personality development through proper stimulation, direction, and guidelines. So as a teacher, ang gagawin natin is we will help them to to um to be ready for the life. Ayan. So the main goal of methods is guidance and counseling is also important. Kanina hindi natin nadinig yan. Walang guidance. Mag-aral ka. Hindi dito. We would counsel the students. What do you want? Ano gusto niyong gawin sa klase? Bakit kayo gaganyan? Ano bang nararamdaman mo? Di ba? May mga ganon. The new method placed more emphasis on thinking and less upon memorizing. So, more on understand and less merely accumulate facts. So, dito nagsimula kung bakit ang mga test nyo ay hindi na puro memorization. Okay. Dahil kay John D, kasi nakita niya na mas maganda pag kunwari teacher-centered so that the students could understand. Diyan na kayo nagsimula ng group activity. Okay. So, usually, the programs that have progressivism has these qualities in common. Number one is to emphasize on learning by doing, the hands-on project, expeditionary learning, and experiential learning. For example, yung iba, di ba, sabi nila parang, okay, paano magluto? Or instead na sasabihin, ganito magturo, memorizing mo yung handbook. Hindi ganun. Ang gagawin mo, okay, everyone, bring the following. Okay, so ganyan. Another, for example, okay, class, I want you to, isa na sabihin mo sa kanila na, okay, ano sa tingin nyo? Ang sabihin nila na, pag ang itlog, kapag kunwari, nilubog mo inano mo sa tubig, lulubog. So, imbes sabihin mo ganon, pwede mo sabihin, okay class, you could see, tingnan nyo, tingnan natin, ano kayang mangyayari kapag ito ay inilubog? Okay. Sa Filipino, actually one of my favorite subjects talaga is Filipino. I'm a Filipino teacher sa junior high school. So, that's why kinukuha ko yung Rizal. Ayan, favorite ko yan. No limitang hirin, el filibusterismo. Instead na, yung teacher namin sa no limitang hirin, el filibusterismo before, si Ma'am, nung high school ako, marami siya mga pinapagawang mga activity. So, nakikita ko yung ibang mga teacher, ang ginagawa nila, sinasabi nila, ganito, kagaya ng mga politiko, ng mga ganyan, di ba ginagano nila? So, ganito, imbis sa lesson lang. So, ginagawa namin sa Nolit LP. I asked them, tingnan nyo no, ang gara, yung mga ugali nila, ugali ngayon ng mga tao, kagaya nung araw, na nare-represent ng No Limitang Hirit El Filibusterismo. Tapos, alam niyo yung madidinig ko sa mga bata, in-observe ko kasi sila, grabe, no, parang siyang parang siyang Clonia Victorine. Isa lang sila nag-uusap. So, kinukumpara nila yung mga natutunan nila during the class na-apply nila. Kaya I know, pag yung bata dumaan sa akin, naiintindihan nila ang Noli at LP. Pero hindi ko na alam kung naiintindihan nila yung tinuro ko. Pero, kasi kailangan mo i-connect. Kasi ang tao, nag-iisip yan. Bakit ko ba kailangan pag-aralan to? Ngayon ang tanong, ang sagot is, kaya mo kailangan pag-aralan kasi ganito. Integration of entrepreneurship in education. Ayan, nagbebenta-benta na tayo. Tinuturuan mo yung mga bata on paano sila kumita. Sige, try mo ibenta yan. Sa social studies may ganun bebenta nila yung mga pagkain nila kasi sila, economics. Okay. Group work and development of social skills. Ayan, ayoko din ng group work, pero lagi ako nagpapagroup. ang ironic kasi nakakapagod kasi kasama yung mga iba kong kaklase dahil kapag sa doctorate mahirap mag-group work kasi lahat kayo may work pa. Pero pag sa klase, it's nice to have a group work. Bakit? Kasi yung collaboration, dati hindi ka naman marunong makisama, pero ginawa kang leader, kailangan makisama, na makukuha mo siya, ang kagandahan nun, pag medyo nagkaedad ka na, naging estudyante na, kagaya, naging college na, or naging teacher, kailangan matuto ka makisama dun sa ayaw mong tao. Kailangan matuto ka kung paano mo i-deal yung mga tamad. Okay? Honestly, totoo naman yun. Kailangan kaya mong i-deal yung mga tamad. Kasi, pag tumanda kayo, nagkaroon kayo ng work, i-deal niyo yung mga tamad. And how you will do that? Kung lagi mong iniiwasan. Okay? So, understanding and action is school as learning opposed to root knowledge, collaborative and cooperating projects. Okay? Education for social responsibility, democracy, highly personalized and learning account for each individual's personal goals. Each of you have their own personal goals. Like, for example, iba sa inyo, gusto talaga nilang mag-uno. Iba sa inyo, gusto pumasa. Iba sa inyo, at least kamo mga dos mahigit. So, you have your personal goals. Kaya dapat, ginagawa nyo ng paraan. If sa tingin nyo na gusto nyo palang mag-uno, you should do your job. Okay? So, meron tayong mga kanya-kanyang personal goals. And as a teacher, we would help them achieve that. Integration of community service and service learning projects in the daily curriculum is also part. Selection of subject content by looking forward to asking what skills will be needed in the future society. So, ano nangyari sa atin ngayon? Ang dami nating research, di ba? Kasi, ito na ang trend ngayon. Dapat nagre-research. Dinadagdagan natin yung educational, ay mga academic papers. Which is good. Maraming mga college research na i-present na maganda. Okay? So, the emphasis on textbooks in favor of varied learning resources, ito dumami na. Kasi dati textbook, kabisado nyo. Ngayon, mag-YouTube ka, mag-Google, mag-ganito, mag-search ka sa ganito, sa ganyan. So, ang dami nyo nang pinag-aaralan. Okay? Assessment, evaluation, trials, projects, and production. So, may mga movies na tayo. Pero yung nakakapag-produce na ng magagandang movies. Kami nung nag-movies kami na talagang maganda, I could say maganda, college na eh. Pero during high school, hindi masyado. Parang lang, pinagkabit-kabit mo lang. Pero ngayon, grabe, yung isa sa Lab High, nag-edit siya ng video ng No Limitang Hirit teaser nila na tawag sa unang hirit kasi sobrang ganda. Na TV. So, ganun nakakagaling yung mga bata ngayon, which is very good. Next, we'll have humanism. Humanism, belief, education that is good for a person is also best for the nation's well-being. The individual learner is not regarded as passive or at least easily managed recipient of input. He or she is the choosing of self-selecting organism. We are all rational beings. Kagaya nun, actually may kausap mo kanina about sa politics. I don't like, wala akong sabihin pangalan or whatsoever. But I don't believe na pag kunwari, in-insist mo yung, kunwari, may gusto kang kandidato, they like this certain candidate because of their reasons. This person, hindi kunwari kadebate mo, like this certain candidate because he or she has reasons as well. Ganun tayong tao eh. And you can say na, for example, ito iboto mo ha, okay, hindi. You will ask, why her? Why him? Bakit siya? Ano ba siya? Sinabi mo, kaya kahit anong laban, natatawa ako kasi people are sharing their opinions, which is fine. But convincing others and makikipag-away ka because of your opinions, that is also fine. That's what you want. Okay? But expect that people will respond. For example, nag-post ka ng BBM, may magre-respond. Nag-post ka na about Lenny, may magre-respond. Nang about Bato, may magre-respond. Si Rastaman, may maghahaha. Okay, so we have our own reasoning. And it's fine. It's part of us. Because we're human beings. Kesa naman sa, boto mo si Lenny. Okay. Boto mo sa BBM. Sige. Hindi na lang isip. Nakakatakot yun. Okay? So, kaya lang, as a teacher, we should guide. I'm not saying na you should say a candidate, ito iboto mo kasi ganito yan. Ganun dapat. Hindi. You let them analyze. Because each human being have their own reasons kung bakit siya ang pinipili ng kandidato. And of course, aside from that, in life as well. It centers on human values, interests, capacities, needs, worth, and dignity. Learning refers to the acquisition of new knowledge, behavior, skills, and values through process of study, practice, or experience. So during the Renaissance, humanism played a major role in education. Bakit? The humanist proponents are practitioners of humanism during the Renaissance believe that human beings will dramatically change by education. Naniniwala sila that education is very important. This is true. You know, when I was in college, yung I will tell you this about my teacher beliefs, okay, teaching beliefs. When I was in college, I thought, hindi ko naman pala kailangan mag-English. Tagalog na lang. Mga teacher ko nga dati, ganyan eh. Ang importante, magsalita ka. Masters. Ay, grabe, ang gagaling ng mga klase ko. Importante pala si English. Kailangan mag-English. Parang gano'n. Kasi ganito, kasi ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. Kailangan pala. Kailangan ganito, kailangan ganyan. But I was also exposed to other problems. I took TESOL. I don't know if you're familiar. If not, it's fine. Is teaching English to the other learners, other speakers of language. And it is said, sobrang ko sabi ko, mag-British accent na nga. Oh, British accent. Ay, ang pangit ng Filipino English, ang pangit ng English natin, kesyo ganito, kesyo ganyan. And then, the head of TESOL said that one of the thing is, Philippines have actually good pronunciation, articulation, yung mga ganung bagay. So, why? Because it's easy to be understood. Kasi pag British, maarte. Kapag American, sakto lang kasi doon naman ang ginagaya natin. Pero tayo daw, mas naiintindihan. And when I entered the doctorate degree, na dating kala ko, English lang ang importante. I understand, meron kami subject about social linguistics. That each language is very important. And you know, hindi ko siya, kung hindi ako pumasok doon, I don't know on how will I love my language, how will I love Filipino, again, actually favorite subject ko Filipino. How will I love our language and learn more language? So, education really changes people. But the problem is some people change too much and they felt na yung mga ibang na-educated masyado. They felt that they are the best. Actually not. Mali yun eh. The more you learn, the more dapat mong nakikita na wala kang alam. I am very delighted with people na ang dami nilang extension sa pangalan, ang dami nilang doctorate degree, but they're down to earth. And they know that they don't know a lot. Bakit? Kasi they don't know a lot because we have other disciplines pa. Yung mga iba kasi masyado na sa mga mayabang. And that's how they are. But dapat sana, more on sharing ka. I-share mo yung mga nalalaman mo sa mga estudyante mo. So that they will be inspired. So overall, humanist education was thought at the time to be an important factor in preparation of life. Kasi its main goal was to improve the lives of citizens and help their communities. Humanist school combined Christianity and the classics to produce a model of education. So yun yung humanism. So anong tatandaan natin during the humanism is this psychology. It's a perspective that emphasizes looking at the whole of the individual and stresses concepts such as free will, self-efficacy, and self-actualization, rather than concentrating on the psychological factors. As a whole person tayo. Kaya ang humanism may guidance and counseling. The humanistic curriculum is based in the belief that the education that is good for a person is also best for the well-being of the nation. So humanism, since okay si person, for example, humanism approach, individually, okay ang tao. Tapos, it is believed na since okay individual, self-actualize sila, they are fulfilled, it will be a ripple effect and the nation will be a better place. Imagine, this humanism is from the Renaissance period, rebirth. So, inaano talaga nila, hinihil nila ang mga tao during that time. Humanism was developed as an educational philosophy by Rousseau and Pestalozzi, who emphasizes nature and the basic goodness of humans. Understanding through the senses and education as a gradual and unhurried process in which the development of human character follows an unfolding nature. So some principles are important. So of course, respect for human life, human dignity, equal rights, and social justice, respect for cultural diversity. Actually dito, medyo kung makikita natin, yung mga humanitarian, yung mga, di ba, sila yung may ayaw ng death penalty. Because they respect life. But, ayan, papasok ang pagiging rational being ng mga tao. Eh, paano yung mga sinirang buhay ng mga criminal, di ba? So, talagang nagka-clash ang mga bawat philosophies. That is why, and it's not wrong, my dear students, na iba-iba kayo ng mga philosophy. Kasi, we're rational being. We believe in different things. Kaya nga natin ito dinidiscuss eh. Why? So that you could understand. Each individual have their own philosophies in life. Hindi mo pwedeng ipilit yung sa'yo. Okay, yung sa'yo siguro ngayon ay, my dear students, siguro ngayon, as of the time, nakakatatlo na tayong philosophy. Oh, tama, tatlo, pang-apat na si humanism. Medyo naiisip mo na, ano namang philosophy yung teaching ko? In life din as well. So, naiisip mo na, makaganito pala ako. Okay? So, may mga ibang, malay nyo, collectivism. Okay. So, baka tumama na kayo. So, it is developed foundation. Okay, nakanan natin yan. Okay. Gabs and Berliner describe 4 basic objectives. 1, they develop positive self-direction and independence, develop the ability to take responsibility for what is learned, develop creativity, and promote and develop curiosity. So that is humanism, the objectives of humanism. Now let's have the constructivism naman tayo. Constructivism is an approach to learning that holds that people actively construct or make their own knowledge and that reality is determined by the experience of learners. So kanina, sa essentialism, yun tayo sa teacher. So yung humanism about human beings, rational beings sila, but this one is people actively construct or make their own knowledge. Sila mismo yung gumagawa ng knowledge nila. It is based on the belief that learning occurs as learners are actively involved in the process of meaning and knowledge, construction as opposed to passively receiving information. Learners are the makers. Tayo ang gumagawa. Tayo ang nagko-construct ng ating knowledge. Constructivism is an approach to learning that holds that people actively construct. Ulit-ulit, ano? Hindi ko nga alam din sa amin na yan. Constructivism says that learnings bring their personal experience into the classroom, and these experiences have a tremendous impact on students' views on how the world works. For their students, yung mga lecture natin, yung mga research works are based on experience of other people. Naglalagay lang tayo, we're just adding some variables to check if ganun nga. Minumultiply lang natin yung alam na natin na gano'n. Minsan gano'n lang. But in real sense, the constructivism is we are the makers of knowledge. Human beings are makers. Tayo gumagawa ng sarili natin. And learners construct their own understanding. Makikita mo yun sa lecture. Ako hindi ako nagpapa-lecture kasi sabi ng teacher ko, notes are personal. Ibang teachers hindi nila naniniwala. But when my professor said, notes are personal, so it's up to them, bakit yung iba? Naglalagay sila ng design. Bakit yung iba ganun sila mag-praise ng notes nila? That's their style. That's how they learn. Okay? That's how they understand things. Sometimes it cannot be understood by other people na babasa, but sometimes it could be. Learners is facilitated by social interaction, and meaningful learner occurs within authentic learning tasks. Like for example, I asked one of my math teachers, my colleague, sabi niya, alam mo Eka, kung papayagan lang tayo, kung gusto nila talagang mag-solve ng problem solving, palalabasin daw niya yung mga bata. Tapos talaga daw ipapameasure niya ng metro, yung kunwari kalsada, gano'n. So, Kaya ginagawa nila. That's why we have field trip. Kaya lang field trip kasi natin naging money making, ano? If ever na some of you are from private school or public school na nag-field trip, you want money making. Hindi na siya about sa learning. Kasi ayaw nyo mag-factory eh. Sino naman gusto sa factory? Factory ng lapis, factory ng gardenia. Ang malas naman, iba nakapunta sa gardenia. Like, ano kaya yun? Sobrang saya. Sobrang ganda kaya sa gardenia. Nakikita umikot-ikot yung mga tinapay. So, siguro sa inyo, dahil sa Bulacan tayo, sa factory na lang tayo ng Marby. Sa Bulacan-Bulacan lang yun. So, ba't tayo dinadala doon? Actually, one of my colleagues, kinuwento niya sa akin, sa Poveda, I don't know if you're familiar with that, sa Poveda daw, ang ginagawa nila sa mga bata, like, for example, sa LM, ang field trip nila, since not LM, yung mga pre-LM, mga preschool, kunwari, ano yun yung mga trabaho, ano yung makalimutan ko, their lesson yung mga jobs ng mga tao. So, dinala nila sa fire station para makakilala ng mga firefighters, dinala nila sa library, dinala nila sa, hindi naman nata police station. Pero yung mga pinag-filtripan nila sa mga bata, mga authentic na mga lugar. Bakit tayo pumupunta ng, pag mga history, bakit tayo pumupunta ng mga museum? Alam ko some of you, tinatamad kayo mag-museum. Nakakatamad. Pera lang dun sa, ang ganda ng museum, dun sa history ba yun, o anthropology, na pang-Instagrammable. But we go there because we want to see the authentic pieces of past. Yung mga authentic pieces of past. Gusto natin makita. Gusto natin makita kung, ito na pala, ganito kayaman ang kultura ng araw. Individual constructivism, there have two views. So we have individual constructivism. This is also called cognitive constructivism. It emphasizes individual internal construction of knowledge. So tayo mismo gumagawa ng knowledge. It's based on Piaget's theory. Proponents of this type choose child-centered and discovery learning. They believe that learners should be allowed to discover principles through their own exploration rather than direct instruction by the teacher. So instead of saying, ganito to, ganito to, ganito, in a construction, magpo-provide ka lang sa kanila and bahala na silang mag-isip. Which is actually very hard because magastos siya sa oras. Pag student-centered, magastos sa oras yan. Bahala na sila mag-thought process. But, ang gaganda ng sagot nila. We also have social constructivism. This gives emphasis that knowledge exists in a social context solely in the mind of an individual. Hence, construction of knowledge is shared by two or more people. Ito na yung mga brainstorming. According to social constructivists, the opportunity to interact and share among learners help to shape, refine their ideas. So in a constructivism, it's very important to brainstorm. May makausap ka na sa intellectual body mo na dumadami yung ideas from, for example, kasi nakita mo na, ito, maganda to. Sa Filipino natin, gagawa tayo ng ganitong trailer, gagawin natin ganito. But if ever na you will have with someone, ideally, ay sa tingin ko hindi siya maganda kasi ganito. Mahirap tong ganito. Hindi natin kaya to. Kailangan to na equipment na ganito. So, we could have lots of activities then for that. Okay, so let's have the existentialism. It helps the students to understand and appreciate themselves as unique individuals. So, kanina about human beings, pero pag existentialism, about the existence. Ma'am, ano ba yan? Existence. Kasi, it helps the students to understand and appreciate themselves. So, nakafocus na tayo dun sa tao. The existence. So, individuals who accept complete responsibilities of thoughts, feelings, and action. So, anong role ni teacher? To help students define their own essence. As a teacher, we must help the students to know why they existed. By exposing them to various paths they take in life, by creating an environment in which way they feel it to choose their own preferred way. Dito, kagandahan dito, instead of saying, Dr. Sir Rizal is our national hero. He was skilled, blah, 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 in the ganito ganyan. An essentialist teacher could say, in what way you are like Dr. Rizal? So, parang kang Just imagine that you are, I don't know if you're familiar with Lucifer, the TV series. Nandun ka sa, ni Linda, ni Dr. Linda. Instead of saying that you are wrong, Lucifer, hindi. She will ask, and what made you feel that? Okay, so may mga ganong factors. So, dito din, sa existentialism, teachers are non-judgmental. Bakit? Kasi values are personal. We have different values. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa mga tao. Bakit yung mga politiko na magnanakaw, akala nung anak nila, hindi magnanakaw yung father nila or mother nila? Because that's how they were raised. It's part of their values formation. Na hindi naman masama to kapag ganito, ganyan. So, yun yung nagiging problem natin. And this is why it's hard for, yung mga magjojowa, tapos nagpakasal sila with different values. Like, for example, to some, we value, for example, sa bahay namin, we value, dapat sabay-sabay kumakain. Parang ganyan. Parang pipilitin mo sabay-sabay. Kung napuyat ka, gigising ka, sabay-sabay tayo kumain. Especially ng dinner. But, to some, maybe, for example, my future boyfriend, na sila, hindi sila sabay-sabay kumakain. Kunwari, it's part of their life. Pero magiging clash yun di ba? Pag naging nagsama. So, this part of it. Ngayon, as a teacher, ano naman, ma'am, ano kinalaman po niyan? Some students. All of your students came from different households. Hindi sila pare-pareho, hindi ng pagpapalaki ng magulang. So definitely, kakaiba sila ng values. As a teacher, you need to provide a very good environment in which the students could share, could think about their values, yung mga ganun bagay. So the proponent of that is John Paul Sartre. And behaviorism. Malapit na tayo matapos, long story. Modification and shaping of students' behavior by providing a favorable environment. So, because we believe in behaviorism theory, that a person is a product of their own environment. Behaviorist teachers teach students to respond favorably to the various stimuli in the environment. Kasama dito yung light, temperature, arrangement of furniture, size, and quantity of visual aids. That's why, imagine, di ba, pakikita nyo, sa behaviorism, yung mga classroom, sobrang colorful, especially sa elementary. Why? Kasi they want the students to respond to the stimuli na pumasok ka. Kasi maganda makikita mo. Pumasok ka sa preschool kasi makakapaglaro ka ng 10 minutes. Kasi masaya dito makipag-share. So you will provide a stimuli. They ought to provide appropriate incentives to reinforce positive responses and weaken or eliminate negative ones. I was actually typing this a while ago and I said, okay. Ano pala ako? Behaviorist pala ako. Kasi I always provide incentives. So this is not our first time meeting. Kahit na hindi ko kayo masyadong na-handle last time because I have lots of ST, student teachers during that time, and field study. I gave you incentives, di ba? I don't know if you would remember. My dear students, pumasok kayo sa demo ng mga teachers nyo. And gawin nila yung pinagagawa nila, you will have half of your score. Kita nyo rin yun. Lahat. Meron kayong incentives. So that you know, na pag pumasok ka, may activity ka. I always give incentives to people. Like, for example, sa susunod, sa quiz niya actually, meron akong pinaplan na i-announce. Pero sige, sabihin ko na rin sa inyo. That this will be magkakaroon tayo ng additional, the highest scorer ng each class at saka as a whole, pagsasama-samahin ko lahat ng test ng Educ 201 class ko from BSED, Filipino, Science, Math, English, BT-BTED, lahat yan, pagsasama-samahin, may additional points, yung pinakamataas. We will recognize also, ayan, kaya binuhay ko yung page ko, I will also give recognition to those na nagiging mataas yung mga quizzes nila. I love giving stimulus to students. I love giving rewards. Because you could see it. I know naman. The class manager, when I said you will have additional points because of the things that you did for the class, you saw it. Meron nga isa hindi ko alam kung saan yun, sa math ata, na uno na siya. Sabi ko, pag naging estudyante kita ulit na lang, yung additional mo. And I think estudyante ko siya ulit. So, meron na siyang additional. So, kung siya ulit ang class manager, meron na siyang isang whole number na additional. I give it. And you could see it. Tama ba si Filipino is Joy? Christine Joy? Tama. Ikaw yung class manager last time, di ba?
Opo, ma'am.
And until now? Oh, ikaw pa din, class manager. So, di ba binigay ko sa'yo yung, pinakita ko sa'yo yung computation and additional?
Yes po, ma'am.
Ano ba grade mo sa akin last time?
Ma'am, nung wala pa pong plus,
Oo.
1.25 po.
So uno ka.
Opo.
Okay. So, yun. So, I give pluses. And aside, alam ko na marami ko nabigay sa inyong plus. Pag sinabi ko na midterm, ay wala kayong finals, wala kayong finals. So, ganun. Ganun ang ginagawa ko lagi. I give this one. Dito ko lang na-realize, behaviorist pala ako and alam ko lang progressivist ako eh. Pero, behaviorism din pala, by John Watson. Okay, this is another one. Linguistic philosophy. This is not included pala sa book, yung existentialism. Okay, may mga hindi included sa module. Linguistic philosophy. I think this is the last sa mga philosophy. It is used to develop communication skills of the learner because the ability to articulate, to voice the meaning and values of things that one obtains from his or her experience of life and the world is very essence of a man. Kailangan pala nakakapag-voice out ng isang tao. It's very important. So this linguistic philosophy, you will teach a student on how to voice out properly their ways. It is through his or her ability to express everything. Teachers develop learner skill to send message clearly and receive message correctly. So dito ma-train mo sa linguistic philosophy na iti-train mo yung estudyante on how you will respond with the verbal or non-verbal or paraverbal, oral or written. So he will teach the students this one, so that they could express and receive the message properly. You will teach them to speak many languages as you can. Maging para tayong kagaya ni Dr. Serisay. Okay, so marami tayong alam na language. And hindi natin kakalimutan ng ating lengguwahe talaga. At kung kayo ay iba ang mother tongue, may Kapampangan, hindi nyo rin kakalimutan yan. You may gain more knowledge, but even if you gain more knowledge, kayo pa din po ay magkakaroon ng pagmamahal sa sarili. The tone, pacing, volume of voices are important. So as a teacher, you will teach the correct, precise, grammatical, and coherent and accurate ways. How will you teach that? So constant receiving of different messages, dialogues. So ito yung mga teachers na may sa linguistic philosophy. Usually, this is applied to language schools, lagi kayo may conversation, so yung mga ganun. So in which you could use. So the proponent is Jürgen Habermas and Hans-Georg Gadamer. Okay. So unit 3 na tayo. Learner-centered. This is the last unit. Still have 30 minutes. Okay. So in a book written by Weber 2002, she said that students to be learner-centered, the instructional practice needs to change in 5 ways. 1, sabi dito, the function of content in learner-centered teaching includes giving students a strong knowledge foundation, applying the content, and the ability to learn more independently. This one, we will teach the students how to learn independently. Kaya po tayo, group works, activities, nakakasawa, apakadami. Actually, na-try ko to before sa junior high. As in, araw-araw, iba kami na activity. Tatapusin din kaya yung mga bata, nag-iiwan sila sa school nila ng mga pamalit. Kasi hindi ko sinasabi yung activity. Each day, alam nila na right after the discussion, we will have activity. Like, for example, 10 minutes. We will discuss for 20 minutes. And after the discussion, ready na sila, may activity silang kasunod. Ano activity nila? May role playing. Ma'am, 10 minutes lang. Alam nila, sabi ko, when I ask you to perform a role play in just 10 minutes of practice, I don't expect you to have yung alam mo yung sobrang bongga. Of course, hindi. I only give you 10 minutes. Hindi ko naman kayo kakabibigyan ng ganun. So, nasanay na sila. After ng activity, after ng discussion, ano sunod? Okay, let's have a game. Raise your boards. Ayan. So, lagi sila. Pero lagi silang nagre-recitation. Yung nagre-raise ng boards. Minsan individual, minsan by group. So, minsan naman. Minsan ang quiz nila, ganun. Magre-raise sila ng boards by group. Ayun, maraming bumabagsak. Minsan pag ganun. Kasi, madami na silang nag-aaral. Marami naman din pumapasa. So, yun. So, it's fun. Pero, it's different. Right? 2, the role of the instructor focuses on helping the students to learn. So we help. Help them to learn. There's positive learning shifts from instructor to the students. So because the instructor should proactively assist their students. So more on ganun lang din. Help, assist. Purpose and process of assessment shifts from only assessing grades to include providing constructive feedback is also important. And of course, assist students in learning. Kaya dapat siya na sa teacher, ang gagawin natin, may na-try ako na ganito eh. Kaya gusto ko din na i-ano ni class manager, i-live in a way na nakikita niyo yung grades niyo, pero hindi niyo nagagalaw. Kasi, hindi ko kasi makikita lahat. Pero sa junior high school kasi yan, kasi nire-record ko yan eh, sinasagot, yung nag-raise sila na hands, hinikta nila yung score nila in front of the class. Tinitignan ko na agad. 6, 5, 6/10, 5/10, 4/10. Ay, ba't bumababa yung grades ko? Ano nangyari? Kakausapin ko yung bata. Hindi pwede to. Pag kinompute to, yung quizzes mo, tapos project activities mo, kahit mataas, babagsak ka dito kasi tignan mo yung percentage. So, I provide feedback right after. Laging tatandaan yan. When you become a teacher, kahit gano'n nakakatamad, the feedback must be given right after. Kung pwede nga, wala pang 24 hours, alam na ng bata kung ano yung score niya. Para makapag-review siya. Para maitama niya. Okay. I think this is number 5. The balance of power shift, pakisulat na lang. That the instructor shares some decisions about the course with the students such the instructor and students collaborate the policies and procedures. So, collaboration with the instructor and the students. Okay, let's have another game. Tapos na tayo. Ready na kayo? So, read the question fast and answer it immediately in the chat box. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, question number 11. This is the product of his environment. Product of his environment. Anong ism to? Okay, the correct answer is babyism. Product of environment Very good. Hindi ko na masulat. Okay, next. Communicating being person. Anong ism to? What philosophy believes in communicating being person? Kukumpletuhin niyo yung sagot. Correct answer is linguistic philosophy. Nalilito pa rin kayo. Aralin niyo mabuti, isim. Hanggang let yan. Okay, ito na lang ang sagot. Yes or no? Constructivists believe that meaning can be imposed. Yes or no? Constructivists believe that meaning can be imposed. Yes or no? The correct answer is no. Ay, nako. Okay, next. Bagalan ko. Yes or no? Behaviorists are concerned with the modification of students' behavior. Behaviorists are concerned with the modification of students' behavior. Yes or no? The correct answer is Yes. Question number 14. Yes or no? Perennialist teacher sees wisdom of ancient medieval times. Yes or no? Perennialist teacher sees wisdom of ancient medieval times. The correct answer is yes. I think this is the last question. Yes or no? Essentialist teachers frown on long academic calendar and core requirements. Yes or no? Essentialist teachers frown on long academic calendar and core. Ano yan, Nicole? Ba't O? Correct answer is no. Gusto nga nila yung maraming aral eh. O sabahin mo yung iba. Okay, we're done. Okay. Stop here. We're done with our discussion. So I hope that you learned something. Please review for your quiz next meeting. I will ask you, and I want the answer now. So, ano gusto nyo? Yung quiz next week or next week? 30 minutes before our discussion. Which do you prefer? Next week, quiz? Kasi ang bala ko, i-compress ko ng 5 lectures. Sa 5 lectures na yun, unit quiz. So, yun. Tapos unit ulit 5, first lecture, quiz, unit quiz, unit quiz, unit quiz. So, you only have 5. 5 lecture lang tayo. Pero nandun na yung lahat ng units. Tapos may quiz. So, 10. So, sa 10, kung sakaling magkaroon man ng bawal gawin, for example, hindi magka-klase. So, may I ask, shall we have the quiz next meeting or next week? Next meeting na lang, ano? I guess, next week, we'll have a quiz. Para may 1 week naman kayong mag-aaral. Okay? So, hindi ko pala tinanong, announce pala yung quiz. So, I will announce that next week will be your quiz. The coverage is Unit 1, Lessons 1 to 3. Ito yung naman yung lessons natin. So, this time, please make sure that yung mga ism po ay naiintindihan na. Okay? So, your quiz will be open only for 1 hour. Siguro kung hindi naman 1 hour. I will start with klase niya sa akin ay 2. Siguro, sige, 24 hours. Pwede na yung 24 hours. Pwede na, sige. Pero ang 24 hours, we will begin at 2 o'clock. 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. To 2 p.m. 2 to 2. Okay? And I will announce your scores afterwards. Ganun na lang. Sige, open natin. But, ayun lang. So, tapos next ko lang tayong meeting, magkuquiz lang kayo. The following, we will have, that is asynchronous, so yung mga may, pwede kayo hindi naman tayo mag-meet, mag-load lang kayo to learn. Yun lang. So, did you understand our lesson? Siguro hindi pa, dinadigress mo. Do you have any questions? Questions? Yes, Christine Joy.
Ma'am, yung ano po ba kanina, kasama po dun sa recitation? Recitation na po siya kasama, yung mga nagsasagot po kanina ng 2 points po. Ay, ng 3 points po sa chat. Kasama na po siya sa recitation. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you po.
Okay. And next time, maglalagay ako ng indicators para hindi ka malito. Nakalimutan ko din. Yung maglalagay ng every question, magta-type ko para hindi ka malito.
Okay po, ma'am. Okay. Thank you po.
Ayun. So, class monitor, and everyone, kindly open your cameras. Before we have our last